Welcome to the Horror Friendly Podcast.
It's not over till that bitch is dead.
Let's delve into that a bit deeper.
I'm going to be like the peacekeeper between you two tonight.
Don't fuck with the original.
Yeah, don't fuck with the original.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Horror Friendly Podcast, part of the You Run Podcast Network. My name is Katie, and I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Chantal. Hi, Chantal.
Hi.
So we're going to be doing something a little different for you guys for the next month or so. We've decided to do a little mini-series covering some of the incredible films showcased at the UK Film Festival FrightFest. We're so excited to introduce you to these films and give you a bit of our insight. Thanks so much for listening and enjoy.
Okay, how are you feeling about our next film?
Oh, I think me and you might disagree on this.
Yeah,
so slightly, but I think this is going to be interesting.
This might be our first clash. So we're now covering Year 10, directed by Benjamin Goodger. An event has blackened the sky, plunging the earth into an endless winter. Toxic clouds turned rain to acid, crops can't grow, and the human race is all but extinct. Deep in the dying forest, Son and his father eke out an existence scavenging the wreckage of the former world. Though their lives are bleak, they have each other. But when Son's girlfriend is struck down by an infection, everything falls apart. A group of violent cannibals descend on their safe haven, take the antibiotics, keeping the girlfriend alive, and a treacherous journey into the unknown begins. That gives a lot more description than I feel like the film gave.
So you just found out everything from that?
Like, did we know the sky turned black?
Well, is that just a saying?
I don't know. Well, it says toxic clouds turned rain to acid and crops can't grow. So did we know that?
I don't know if we knew that, actually. I didn't know that.
We kind of just knew it was post-apocalyptic, end of the world vibes. We kind of got the gist.
Yeah.
But I was expecting zombies at one point and then realised it wasn't that type of post-apocalyptic.
Yeah. I mean, did you watch anything? Did you watch the trailer for this at all? Or were you just like going blind?
I've been avoiding trailers because I think for me it's much better to kind of go in blind. Also, I'm quite enjoying it, just kind of really having to pay attention and be like, wait, what's happening? I did text you because it was so funny because it's called Year 10. And in England, obviously, Year 10 is like a school year. Like we count up the school years. So that's like when you're like, what, 15? You're just starting your exams. So I thought this was going to be like a school film, a school horror, like bullies, like, and I was just the horrors of exams, and I thought it was going to be horror. And then I texted you, and I was like, I've just realised this is not a film about GCSEs.
Like insane. Like all you had to do was look at a poster of it and know that.
Like I'd seen that guy, like I'd seen that poster and that guy, but it didn't really. That could have been someone at the end of prom night. Like, I just didn't even think anything else. But then those opening 3 lines, very quickly I realized, this is not a film.
It's not going to be that kind of film.
Not that kind of film. Those opening 3 lines, though, really pulled me in. And annoyingly, I can't remember them off the top of my head. But again, not much of a spoiler because it happened straight away. But those 3 lines of text just make you go, oh, shit, that's a dark turn.
Yeah, you want to like know more about the story and where it's going to go kind of thing.
Yeah, because it says something about like people having to resort to eating the dead and then eating the living. So obviously we already know cannibals are coming. So that I was like, oh, shit, this is going to get dark. But yeah, enough about my first thoughts. What did you think of this?
Well, I was lucky enough to watch this at FrightFest. So I managed to have the director speak about it before the film was shown, and then afterwards there was a bit of a Q&A, so it was really cool to hear a bit more about how it was filmed, and the ideas behind certain things. So it was a really cool experience. That was my first ever film I've ever watched at FrightFest, so that's awesome. I really liked this film. I thought it was very different to anything I'd kind of watched before. I quite liked the idea of no dialogue, but saying that, I must admit, when I first watched it, I struggled a bit with the slow burn in the first half. That's the bit that I struggled with, but then I think the second half just makes up for it. And that's why I think I've got a lot of time for it, because that second half is like just emotional. It's like, it's action packed. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, and I think it's a pretty, I really enjoyed the ending as well. I was going to say a bit more about the ending, but obviously I'm not going to do that. But I just, yeah, I must admit, I wasn't sure about it at first, but then it really drew me in, and the second half just won it over for me. What do you think? Because obviously you're not a fan of a slow burn.
I
Do
struggled.
you feel like this was a slow burn?
Yes. I think it's really hard with apocalyptic films as well, because the normal plot is always we need to get from point A to point B. And there's always a reason, whatever, again, like zombie film, just end of the world. It's always, we need to get from here to there. And it's always like the military or house, like whatever it is, housing. So this was an interesting take, that it was kind of, I mean, it does actually say it in the plot that we read out, that they're trying to get the girlfriend's medicine back. So obviously that is get to point B, but then also get back to point A without being caught, and trying to save his girlfriend. So it was kind of, I think, a bit predictable in that, again, they lined up that plot, but you're like, we've kind of seen this before in the, a lot, again, like I said, most post-war, that is the entire point of the film, and then it's just different along the way with all of them. I think the slow burn for me was too slow. I was, especially with no dialogue. And again, I understand it's post-apocalyptic. They're trying not to speak. They don't want cannibals to hear them. But even the cannibal group weren't talking to each other. And I was like, but if they're meant to be this big, scary group, surely they don't care who hears them. So that I struggled with.
Yeah, the no dialogue reason I took from it, I don't think it was to do with anything in the actual film as much, because I know obviously they were trying not to give attention to themselves for the dogs as well, but I don't think it was to do with that. I think the director just decided to add in no dialogue in the film. I don't know if it was a specific reason. I don't think
Cheaper.
I don't think it was I don't think it was like The Quiet Place, where there was like a specific reason for it. I think that they just decided to do it slightly differently,
because I think that's the thing, is like, it is different, is very different to have a film with no dialogue. However, The Quiet Place is a huge blockbuster that's still relatively new, so it does feel like it's quite heavily influenced by that, and it's may not be, but because it's kind of tried to do almost the exact same thing.
And spoiler alert, there is dialogue in The Quiet Place.
Yeah.
Like
there is, but even they found like a different way to communicate in A Quiet Place, like they were using ASL because it's American, whereas this had nothing. And there was I don't know, the acting was really good, because you could see like they were having to act the hell out of it, like with facial expressions and everything, because again, there was no dialogue. But it was, for me, was because it was a slow burn and nothing was being said. It was hard for me. So the two together, not a great mix.
No, but that's fair. Toby Goodger, who played the main guy, he said, I think it was one of his first acting gigs, if not his first. And so he said it was quite challenging, like sort of, especially not being able to speak as well. And you have to just use more of your facial expressions, and you have to let that do the talking and your actions. So that's a pretty challenging first role, I think, like for an actor.
No, I think it is. And there was bits where, and again, he had to do a whole range of emotions, because, like there was fear, there was regret, there was like panic and desperation. I think everything but fun, like everything and you could see it all. And I think the regret one really stood out to me. but it's still that where it's just like, and again, I do think though, even when an actor has dialogue, they should still be acting with their face. But this was to the extreme because it was, you had to, there was no other choice. But yeah, I don't know. I think it just lacked something. I think it was so long, there wasn't dialogue, so it was lacking something more. And it just had a lot more potential to kind of do something. But I don't know what. I really liked the idea of cannibals because, again, funny enough, I can't remember who I was having this conversation with, but humans are selfish and they're very territorial. And I mean, look at all the wars that happen. Is because we want more land predominantly and more stuff. So the whole idea of like, oh, we can't grow crops, so people have to start eating each other, that would be fucking terrifying because you would end up with like a tribe looking after themselves. I'm calling it a tribe of people, a group of people, but they would be fucking scary because they wouldn't give a shit anything about you. Like, and that, yeah. So I was expecting a lot more from that side in terms of like fear. It was really good with like suspense and stuff, but I was expecting like a bit more brutal. Again, as an SFX nerd, was kind of hoping for a bit more on that front as well.
Yeah, fair enough. I think there was a lot of kind of off-screen violence.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot more sort of implied gore and kind of screams from off-screen. Which I mean, personally, I thought was quite effective, but I do know what you mean. I think maybe a bit of gore in there might have maybe piqued your interest a little bit more.
Yeah. Because
so I can
like, sorry, when you could see like it says the girlfriend had an infection, that makeup was great. So it's like, you have someone talented here, use them. But
yeah, for sure. I don't know whether instead they were trying to go for more of like an emotional impact, and just kind of like how this awful situation is affecting this group of people. And like you say, like when it's humans that are cannibals and it's not like zombies, humans have control of themselves, and that's what makes it scarier because you really are alone. Like you really are fucked. Unless you've got your sort of group that you trust, like he had, you really are on your fucking own.
Yeah, no, you are. It was also, I found it quite interesting that son, and again, I love that they just had son, dad, girlfriend, like the very descriptive names. He was quite unlikable, like especially in the opening. I just found that really interesting that they did set him up as the hero, but did make him quite unlikable. And I was like, this is going to be really interesting to see how it unravels that I'm going to care about him.
He made some sort of questionable choices in the first half.
Yeah.
And like, okay, interesting. How is this going to be turned around?
Yeah. So that was, I was looking forward to that, to see kind of like where they took his character. Because you were like, I can't root for this guy the whole film if he keeps this up.
But yeah, I think going back to the tense aspect of it, I would say like in terms of like a wow moment, I think there was a specific, I don't think this spoils it, but a specific chase scene for me where I was just on the edge of my fucking seat. I was like, oh my God, like, I don't know. I was just like, he's going to get caught. And obviously you'll have to watch it to find out the outcome. But like, God, it was so tense. And I think that just immediately gripped me. So I think like, as I was watching it, I was like, this is going to be my wow moment.
Annoyingly, the wow moment that came into my head is probably not a massive spoiler, but I just think it was really clever. So I don't want to say it because but I'm actually just going to say my wow moment will probably be that opening, because again, it caught me so quickly, just those 3 lines, and then opening up with son and dad in the woods, and it set up the scene really quickly, and you kind of just in that first scene had everything you needed to know. And I just think that was really great, and it seemed really like, oh cool, we're in. And then it started to slow burn and I got bored.
Okay, I mean, fair. When I was watching it, I wasn't sure like what you would think of it.
I wasn't convinced. I wonder, like, again, obviously you saw it at FrightFest in the cinema. I kind of wonder how that environment and that atmosphere might have made it better for me, because you're kind of locked in. Again, as we've said, watching these at home is good, but there is something about cinema for your first experience with a film.
Absolutely. I think it certainly helped. I think visually it's quite a I think it's quite a beautiful film, really, visually. I mean, it looks fucking cold and it looks kind of miserable, but on a big screen, it really is like quite amazing to see it.
Yeah.
So maybe you would have kind of had a slightly different opinion having seeing it on a big screen. And I think when it eventually gets released, I think that everyone should go see it on a big screen. I think that will really help, especially with the tenseness and things. But yeah, you're right. I think that did make a difference. But I think when I was thinking about it and like who I think it would appeal to, don't know if you agree, but I would still say things like The Walking Dead, like survival films, like A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
I know it is a bit more of an extreme version of that, but I do think that it does still fall under that category.
Yeah, no, I was still going to say, I think it still happily sits in the post-apocalyptic category genre. So I still think if you're a fan, this is for you. And again, yeah, if you do like a bit of a slow burn, again, like not everyone is like me and just wants constant information thrown at their face. So if you do like that, and again, like some people do kind of like the anti-hero kind of thing. So if where I've said he doesn't start as a great lovable character, actually, you have to see how it turns out, because again, there's no dialogue. It's not like he makes this heroic speech and everything changes. You'll have to see how it changes instead.
Definitely. All right, Tel, what are you going to give it spookies out of 5?
It's really interesting to you saying about how gorgeous it looks, because I was just thinking, I was like, actually, it's stunning against all the shit going on, which is kind of making me want to put it up, because I feel like that was really well thought out. I think I might give it...
It's so hard when... I'm so sorry, but it is so difficult when you talk, you think you have a score set, and then you talk about it and you're like, oh no.
Oh shit, I didn't take that into consideration, all that.
Oh, we've all been there.
Yeah. I think I'm going to give it 1.5, because again, I think I did read, I believe, again, I've done a lot of research on a few films in one go, so I'm very sorry if I get this wrong around, but I believe Year 10 started as a short film. And I think, and then it kind of got expanded. And I think if it had stayed as a shorter film, I'd probably like it more. But I think for me, again, the slow burn too much. So which is why I'm going a bit lower. But again, just personal preference. What about yourself?
I'm going to give it a 3.5. I just really enjoyed this film. Again, like I've said, the second half is just the part that really reeled me in. And I think you needed the first half to kind of learn more about the characters and let it build up. But like you say, if you're not a fan of a slow burn, this might be a bit more of a struggle for you. But when the director was kind of talking about making the film, he was kind of saying it's the idea about humans behaving like animals. Which is, I did quite like the addition of like the dogs and things in there as well. And they apparently were Irish wolfhounds, and they were absolutely lovely behind the scenes. So Tel, I'm sure you would have had a field day with them.
I would have had a great
love
time.
Your dogs.
I would have had a great time.
So for those reasons, 3.5. I just really enjoyed it. I think it really hit you in the feels, and it was a scary concept, a scary idea. So
it was that. As soon as they set it up, you're like, oh, that's scary. As we've said many a time, humans are fucking terrifying.
They are.
But yes, as the same with all these films, we will let you know on our socials when it's coming out.
So there is no UK release. It is to be confirmed. So it is to be confirmed at the moment. There isn't currently a UK release, but it's happening. So as Tel says, keep an eye on the socials.
Yes, we will keep you updated.